Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Willow. In the last part, we went through I think it's called the Lake Cave, and now we're heading northeast of its back exit to reach our next dungeon immediately. Notable though, this does look almost exactly like the area just north of the entrance to the Lake Cave, so we're not back there, we are outright from the exits that the Muzz fight ends in. Welcome to the Two Towers. The predictions were really true. I believed that you would come. Alora Danan is the sacred future queen of Fin Razel's prophecy. Willow, you must now, as Fin Razel has predicted, call down the spirit of Earth to the sacred tower. When the strength of the two spirits comes together, that is when change will truly begin. Now, the two spirits are waiting for you on top of the tower. I'd like to note that baby is the center point, plot point of the movie, yet we're only seeing her now and probably over the halfway point of the LP. She appears about as early as maybe 5 minutes into the movie, I think, and then she's practically in every scene that follows. At the same time, though, I understand having to cart a baby around the entire game might not be the most interesting things for people to play unless your name is Yakuza 6. Now, the Two Towers, their main dungeon layout is you climb around the floor, you head upstairs, you fight a mini-boss with some enemies, and then you continue onwards. These are very linear dungeons, and arguably the easiest dungeon in the game, even more so than Bogarda's Cave, as it's a linear pathway with not many enemies to speak of along the way. We do fight, I think, every enemy variety we've seen thus far in the game here, as the dungeons tend to be, but still not much is new. Although I will say I do like a detail, as you can see here on the second floor and above, where you start to see the lower floors below you as you go. Not every floor, it only goes up to the 3 most recent floors, I believe. But still, that's a cool detail that not many games of this type did, at least in the NES era, not even the Super Nintendo era, depending. Like, I think Final Fantasy V and 6 did that, but if there was any indication that one could have, I don't think any of the Dragon Quest games did until maybe DQ5? I haven't done a Dragon Quest LP in a while. I should get to one of those soon. With that said, one thing I really like about this dungeon is the music, because we finally get to hear a new song. This game's soundtrack is good, but for like the first half to 2/3, depending on how much grinding you do, you're hearing the same 3 or 4 songs over and over again, and while I like them, it's the whole Final Fantasy 1 and Dragon Quest 1 thing where they just start to get grating after a while. This song always did remind me, though, of the Oracle Zelda games. Particularly, I think it was Oracle of Seasons whenever you're near the Temple of Seasons itself. I don't know why. Mind you, it's like this game takes a lot of inspiration from Zelda as it is, because the movie was released in 87, but I don't think this game was it? I think this game was released in like 88 to 89. Yeah, 89. That's the arcade game, which is a platformer. What about the NES game? Here we are. Yeah, no, still 89. Late 89 here in the States, but 89. Oh, here's a tidbit I didn't know. Apparently Shinji Mikami stated that when he joined Capcom, all new employees were given a copy of this game for free by Capcom. That's cool.
Greetings, Willow. I am the spirit of the skies. I have borrowed this being's body to talk to you for a short while. Bavmorda, who I placed in this world, has made my voice inaudible, and she is trying to conquer the world. Now I will put my strength into this blue crystal. Take this, and go climb the West Tower.
And now we have the blue crystal. Thanks. I'll make sure not to summon a certain legendary Pokemon with it. This does give us an opportunity to test out the fleet spell we got in the Lake Cave. You just use it in any point in the dungeon, you spin around like you're using an escape rope, and you end up back at the entrance to said dungeon. Thankfully, this doesn't take you all the way back to the Lake Cave entrance. It just takes you out to the entrance to the first tower. But now we can head west into the western tower. This place is gated off until you get that particular crystal. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that there was another Willow game. That was an arcade game that I don't think ever got a proper port to another system. And it was a platformer, as I mentioned. For a specific frame of reference, it's closer to Ghosts and Goblins. And I've always wanted to try it out because I do like Ghosts and Goblins. I just never found a way to play it, though I suppose MAME emulators could lead to that relatively easily, especially since that's gotten apparently very consistent in emulation quality nowadays. I always wish they ported more arcade games to console with proper quality nowadays. Because you get the occasionals, like the fighting games still do that, but you don't see many arcade platformers nowadays, period, as it is. At least in the US, barring Barcades and Charles Entertainment, Cheese's own chain, there's just not that many arcades around in the US anymore, at least not big ones. I was surprised to see one in my mall recently that they had Soul Calibur 3 of all things. As well as, I think, Street Fighter 3 First Strike or something like that. An odd arrangement, all the same. They also had the Luigi's Mansion arcade machine, which is something I need to try out. Japan is still the king of arcades, though, to this day. The Western Tower, though, is a rather interesting place, as I think it's one of the best places in the game you can grind. As once we get to, I believe it starts on the next floor properly, you can use the Devil Eye Sword to pretty good effect. As you remember the bubble enemy that showed up in the Lake Cave last part? Now we have orange versions of them. They still split after every 5 seconds or so. They drop the pink pellets to increase your MP by 10, and they use 10 of your MP to split up into 2 enemies every 5 seconds. However, they also give 90 experience per. So if you let like 3 or 4 get on screen at once and take them all out, you can get roughly across the span of 10 seconds, 360 experience points. Ish. And because of that, this is one of the best grinding sections in the game, for late game at least. There's one other place I think is really good, but for right now, this is the best place. So I spent some time grinding and got myself to level 14. You're probably going to be good if you go to like level 13 and then halfway to level 14, but I went one level higher than that. I went level 14, then about halfway to level 15. Again, that's mostly for safety's sake for the flow of the LP. Casually speaking, you will be good if you're around. Probably just being near level 13 honestly would probably be enough, but early level 14, maybe the first 5,000 experience points after that, you're definitely going to be safe. The only really annoying thing about grinding in that way is if there's 4 of them and they all split at once, all 8 of them will then charge you immediately. And if your agility is not too high with your current sword, that is a lot of damage you're going to take very quickly. And there's also the fact of, while they take 10 MP away from you, and you get 10 back for killing one, yes, if you get knocked off screen improperly, your MP count can be misbalanced, and that can cause you some problems later on for grinding unless you just go back and forth and outright kill just one of them when there's one on screen. Also, to this day, I don't know what these things are actually supposed to be. I call them bubbles because they look like bubbles, or amoebas, but they could be ghosts with lanterns, I suppose. Sometimes NES graphics left the right amount of the imagination, letting you fill in details. Other times they just put whatever the hell they thought would look good down and then made graphics out of it. And those enemies are one of the cases of the latter, I feel. We're almost at the end of this dungeon, though. Again, it's nothing too hard. It does get pretty samey very quickly, though, so it's probably nobody's favorite dungeon. But it's a very good place to grind, and we do get some good stuff out of it. Besides the fact, we get to beat the game, which is pretty important. And here we are at the top of the West Tower, so this must be the spirit of the Earth.
I'm glad you came, Willow. I am the spirit of the Earth. I am borrowing this being's body to talk to you for a short while. Bavmorda has confined the strength of Fin Raziel, whom I placed on this world. Now I will put my strength into this red crystal. Take this, and go down and meet Elora Danan.
And we have the red crystal. Cool. Notably, while there was never a sequel to the movie because it didn't do well, although they are talking about potentially reviving it for a Disney Plus series, There were, I think, 3 books that made after the fact that served as semi-sequels, and I believe Allura was the main character of those books. The 2 lights that rule the skies and earth come together and are reborn into this world through your diligence as Allura Danan. She will overthrow all of the evil entities and turn their existence into nothing. And I guess for doing that, we get the Crest of the Spirits. Somehow. Cool. This crest is priceless and will protect the whole world. If this ever gets in the hands of Bavmorda and is destroyed, the power of the spirits will disappear and Bavmorda will be able to live forever. Willow, hurry and find Bavmorda's castle, Nakmar, and with the strength of this crest, abolish the evil magic. Back onto topic. Those books, though, I recall, aren't liked by many Willow fans on the whole because they killed 2 pretty major characters from the movie off. Not early into the first book, but in the first book of the 3, which, not my favorite kind of move. Either way, since I've now grinded to level 14, I wanted to use the magic ocarina and get back here to Finn Rizal. I am the messenger of Earth, Finn Rizal. You must be Willow. I'm glad you made it all this way. Now please, change me to my normal self with Cherlindria's magic cane. Okay, let's see. Not a bird. Not a bird. Not a bird. That sound makes it sound like you failed, but you're good. Thank you, Willow. I knew you could do it. I had better put all of my energy into using this cane. I can help out in the battle, but you're the one prophecy says will finally defeat Bavmorda. Okay, thanks. Guess it was worth helping you. Again, you probably can wait to reach level 13 even after this. It's just that this is going to be the last time I'm going to be in this general direction of the map. So getting to level 13 before heading north here is just a streamlining thing for my tastes. Again, you could probably get to the final dungeon if you just fought every enemy along the way. Probably by like level 11, you'd be taking a lot of damage relative to your HP pool, but you could do it. It's just, I don't want to do that. With that, welcome to the Mountain Maze, and I mean that this is, I want to say technically speaking, the game's largest dungeon, despite not being a proper dungeon. There are a lot of alternate paths that lead to dead ends. I'm just going to tell you, follow where I'm going straight up, because it's very easy to get lost here as well. Without making your own map or viewing a map, of course. Also, practically every screen has an enemy encounter, which I'm not a fan of myself, though I do like how the world starts vibrating when you get into a random encounter. That's an interesting design choice. With that said, if you're low on levels, the Mountain Maze is arguably your best friend for grinding throughout the game, as you have a lot of high-ranking versions of prior enemies here that give a lot of experience points really quickly, especially at lower levels for you. So if you enter this place probably around level 9, I wouldn't be surprised if you fought every enemy along the way and like were wandering around. You could easily leave this place at like level 10 or 11. Especially once we get a certain spell that we're going to get while we're here, as that's just going to help a lot of things in the long run. The annoying thing about this area, in my eyes, from a modern game design standpoint, though, is a spell you need in order to beat the game is located in here, one of the few of those there are in the game, and it's pretty out of the way unless you're just wandering, hoping to find a way out and checking every pathway. Because the way out of this area was to the south of that previous intersection. We want to head up here to the north to find a monster's bone. Couldn't have just grabbed one of those off of one of the enemies I killed. Put this on your head and utter Spectre's magic word. This turns you into a monster. As the game just said, if you use that, you turn into a monster. Particularly, I think it's almost always, and not always, the slime enemies from near Nelwyn. And while you're in slime form, I don't believe you trigger random encounters on the world map. You can just pass right by them. And that's cool, especially, I guess, for potentially a speed run. But the thing is, you're gonna need experience points anyway, so why just not fight? Otherwise, you just need that in order to get past one barricade later on in the game. You know, I mentioned them a moment ago, but I'm curious. What does a Willow NES speedrun look like? Bookmarks, SRC... Willow. Alright, here we are. 55 minutes long, that's not too surprising for world record. 9th place is the lowest submitted one at 2.5 hours. That feels about right, honestly. Given that this game, there's probably some tricky out-of-bounds stuff you can pull to get past certain barricades early. Maybe even bypass the final boss, potentially. And a quick scroll through the VOD of the world record, which I just realized was set only a month ago. Oh, damn. Yeah, that's about what I expected. They, by the looks, use a glitch to manipulate the EXP you get from beating a boss fight over and over again to reach level 13 really quickly in the game. Kind of interesting, not gonna lie. Also, that mountain had a face and tried to attack us. You actively, I don't think, can attack that until you get the next magic spell, though. I say that, and that sounds like it's far away, but that's only about this next screen. As, hey, we have a random house in the middle of the mountains.
Nakmar Castle. I've never heard of it. I can teach you the strongest magic word in the world.
And now we have the magic word of thunder, the strongest attack spell in the game. It is a screen nuke that does enough damage to kill just about anything in one shot, normal enemy-wise.
Please stay and make yourself at home.
And of course, this is also an inn, which means this is, again, one of the best places in the game to do level grinding, as the mountain faces on the previous screens especially give, I think, 150 experience per kill. And while Thunder costs, I think, 20 EXP, there's a free inn right there. So just backtracking between the screen with the first mountain face and the screen before it with 5 skulls, you can get like about 300 EXP every 5 seconds you do that. And with backtracking for the MP, that could take a bit, but it's worth it because it's just so brain dead. I want to get to level 15, and now I want to head north, though I should note this was recorded after a bit of next part's footage. You have a heal ball. As just to the north, we have the heal ball here, which is the upgrade to the heal mace. This heals, I think, over 150 HP per use. A magic ball that returns your strength. I forgot to get that for a little bit here, but I'll talk more about when I get that in specific next part. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, we'll be escaping the mountain maze. See you guys then.